robot goth girlfriend.
This is a CDL-03 cat, and this is my friend Dodge, who I've told to dress up as Catwoman so we could awkwardly review this figure together. I got this from the SHOWZSTORE, link in the description below. This is a variation of the CDL-01. There's also an Elita 1 version, and then a clear version of the CDL-01. I do want to point out the pictures are absolutely hilarious for this. They really know what they're selling. You know, if this video does well, I will buy all of these figures and review them. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe. All the figures are copies of the big Firebird and Arcee figure. Subscribe to my Patreon so I can afford that. So just by taking a look at the box art, what do you think?
She's definitely very interesting. She's got some swords going on.
Well, here's a closer look at the front of the box art. And when you see the box art, you can really tell they're not shying away from what this figure really is. I also feel like this figure has a more mech girl style aesthetic to it rather than a Transformers figure. A quick look at the side, a look at the back showing the vehicle mode and the accessories it comes with, and the other side. Yeah, this figure is really going to be a choking hazard. We're going to start off with the figure in vehicle mode, because that's how the figure comes packaged, and because transforming it into vehicle mode is a form of hell. It does come with rubber tires, which is really nice. Now the vehicle mode on this figure does look really great, and with the color scheme, don't you think it kind of looks like a Batmobile?
It really does.
Obviously, the other ones will look different because they have different color schemes, but it loses a lot of points for having loose parts. These chairs come out a lot, this back piece doesn't secure in place properly, and this entire front piece is very loose as well. When I transformed this figure, I had such a hard time getting it into place because it has a lot of loose pieces. Now if we take a look underneath, you can see that the figure pretty much just folds up in itself to form the vehicle mode.
It just looks like an entire robot person underneath with titties.
You should see the other pair of titties it comes with. And now, transform it. Hold that if you could. Thanks. Now to transform the figure, I do recommend some parts forming. Basically, these pieces are pretty loose and they fall off anyway, so it's best to take them off right away. This also becomes a shield, so you kind of have to do it anyways. And now we can untab this front piece and take it off. There you can see her head, you can turn that around, and the transformation is fairly simple on this figure, thankfully. First, just bring out her legs to the side, rotate the feet forward. Once you've done that, you can bring out the arms, bring that upper part back.
Now you break her back.
This piece needs to come out and down there. Rotate the legs to where they're facing down like that. And then you can rotate the rest of the legs into place, do the same here. Then push them in a bit. Now you need to bring the head and shoulders and snap them in place above the torso. I find it easier if you take the titties off.
Hold her titties.
Okay, and then we can bring the head down and then put the titties back on.
Press the titties back on nice and secure.
So now we need to fold in these seats and then adjust the back piece to where it kind of sits like right there. And now to put this piece on, I find it easier just to remove that head. So that way we can adjust that, bring it into place, and now we can reattach the head. Now we can adjust the arms and hands to be the right way. And there is the robot mode of this figure.
It reminds me of the Tetsuya Nomura design.
What?
She's got kind of like the robotic, like futuresque, like almost look to it with like the visor helmet.
What a fucking weeb. Wow. So for the audience, just like the Arcee figure, the backpack looks kind of ugly. You can also spread these top parts out and then spread these bottom parts out to your liking. It's really up to you on how you want to display the figure, and you could probably get it into a way that makes it look more aesthetic. You can detach the pieces and put them down onto the sides and have it appear like that. I'm not going to do that because for some reason, while some parts of the figure are loose, these parts are just really tight and I don't want to risk breaking it. So starting off with the front of the car piece, not much to say. You have the purple headlights with a mostly gray and black color. The rims of the tires are a nice purple.
Yeah, I like the purple.
If we move this out of the way, you can see that over there. Down over to the back of the legs, you got her wheels on the thighs. The back of the legs do seem like they're kind of a big mismatch of colors. This figure does have some die-cast parts for the joints, if you can see in the arms over there, as well as his thighs and the legs. I do feel like with the top piece on and the dark colors, this figure really does just kind of blend together. I think the figure looks better without this piece on. You can also take these pieces off if you wanted to. This also does become her weapon, which I'll show off later. Now we can bring this up to make it look a bit more aesthetic. Now the reason I decided to buy this figure and review it with you is because of the Catwoman aesthetic, and we're both Batman fans.
I do like how she has kind of like little kitty ears on the helmet.
I don't know, I feel like it resembles Batgirl a lot more to me. It does have a little bit of detail on it, and it has a purple tinted visor piece, which you can take off, and it reveals a horrifying face. Here, take a look at that. Yeah, so it looks much better with this on. In fact, I would like this to not be translucent at all, so I don't have to even be reminded of that horrible face. Down to the rest of the figure, you got a collarbone there, you have some anatomy there. You have a nice shoulder pad that's black with purple at the tips. The arms are pretty skinny along with being a gray color and having some black elbow pads. They do have just the tiniest amount of detail to them. You have a slim waist with a belly button there for some reason, and a little bit of purple at the sides. I do feel like these side bits sticking out look kind of ugly. Down onto the legs, they also look very slim and slender. There's a little bit of purple on the thighs, but they're mostly a black and brown gradient color, with the knee pads being a black and purple, and then with the rest of the legs and feet having a black, gray, and brown to them. The color scheme on this figure isn't that bad. It's got some nice black, browns, and purples with some silver on the sides. And she is, the attempts to humanize this figure are, actually, can we just move on? Now this figure does have a good amount of articulation to it, so you can get it into a great variety of poses, and some really sussy ones too. And the back piece does limit some of the articulation of the figure. While you are still surprisingly able to get the head to spin all the way around, the arm rotation is going to be limited. These pieces are on a ball joint, so that does help with the articulation. You can move it back and forth just a little bit, and you can move these pieces down here as well. But let's keep it off for now. The head can move back and forth, you can move it side to side, you can spin it all the way around. The shoulder pads can also move. These arms can go all the way around as well. There is a rotation right there at the biceps. The elbows can bend in as well. There is a hinge joint at the shoulders. The arms are on a ball joint, so you can rotate them and move them around. There is no waist rotation on this figure, but you can get a bit of a rotation. Whoops. You can get a bit of a rotation up here, and you can move it back and forth. It is very squeaky though. The legs can move forward, and you can bring them out to the side, as well as bringing them back. And there is a double hinge joint for the knees. The feet can move side to side and forward and back. The feet can rotate a 360, and these heels can move as well. And for comparisons, I brought this.
Oh hey, I think I watched the video the other day about that one.
Oh no, you've seen it?
Yeah.
So here she is next to all my other plastic waifus. Don't tell my therapist about this.
This shows why I don't have a girlfriend.
She's got a lot going on.
So the figure does come with extra accessories, and for some reason, instead of just having a bigger box for the figure, they just have it in a separate box. And here they are.
Oh, you found her sword.
You get a pretty nice sword, which reminds me of Optimus' sword from Age of Extinction. The sword does have a little bit of detail on it, as well as some nice purple.
Very interesting, they went sword.
Yeah, what appears to be an Energon arrow effects piece, or maybe a spear. In the instructions, they do show it off as a spear. She does come with an Energon blaster, and it looks pretty unique. And the reason the hand is on there is because I put it on and then it got stuck, and I had a very difficult time taking it off, and then I kind of just gave up and left it there. You also do get some extra hand pieces, which are supposed to cut off from these. So the hands that come on the figure are open hands. Then you get these two fist hands, a hand for holding a blaster, and then the other trigger hand on this blaster. This hand meant for holding her sword. Then you get a slightly different variant of the open hand. And this is funny, just like the Nice E figure, there's a rubber replacement chest piece. Here, feel these.
Oh, they're soft.
They're soft.
In case you want hard titties or soft titties.
Replacing the chest piece is very simple. First move that up, so that way you can take this out, and then you can place on the rubberized piece and bring that back down.
It's not even like there's a big difference. They're just softer.
Yeah, I don't really see a point to it. It doesn't make that much of a difference. Like, it is squishy, but it doesn't matter. And with it not being as shiny from the rest of the figure, it makes it look kind of off.
That's the price you pay for getting soft titties.
If you're wondering what these two slots are for, the back and front pieces of the car were packaged separately in here. There also appears to be a little thing in there. Oh, this is for covering up screws. Okay. Now, lastly, it comes with this piece, which you're supposed to put in here, so that way you can attach it to one of her hands to hold it. I'm feeling a bit chaotic today. For some reason, I am having trouble attaching any of the hand pieces to this. And you can see it's really just not gonna fit. Now for the shield, what you can do is flip this part over, and then you can peg it into her arm. The connection sucks though. I do love the Catwoman aesthetic of this figure, but it's unfortunately kind of flimsy, especially in the vehicle mode. This is one of those figures where you just want to leave it in robot mode.